Hello everyone, I'm Rohit Agarwal and I'm pleased to welcome you to a new series that we're launching called FYI, For Your Innovation. Through this series, we are going to get you on a journey to hear about innovation that we are driving to make healthcare a better place. As part of the series, I am pleased to welcome Samarth Mathur, Managing Director of Philippines and our contact center capability leader as the first guest to the series. Hello, Samarth, and welcome to FII.
Thank you, Rohit. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, thanks for being the first guest on the series.
Oh, thank you. I play cricket a lot and usually I open the innings. So this comes naturally facing the first ball. So thank you for placing me into this position to face the first ball. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. And I hope you hit the six on the first ball. So Samarth, just reflecting back right on my career with Optum Global, I've been here around 11 years. I joined Optum, thinking that I'll be able to use my knowledge, my skills to really have an impact on people's lives, right? And I think as we are coming up with new solutions, new products, and keeping the consumer at the center of everything we do, we have a great opportunity to be able to drive innovation. But tell me a little bit about, what are your thoughts on the top challenges that the healthcare industry faces right now?
Absolutely, Rohit. It's I think the most pertinent subject and top of the mind for all of us, right? Healthcare, as we know, essentially is a complex subject anywhere in the world, very sensitive subject anywhere in the world, and even more so, in my opinion, in the US healthcare makes it even a bit more complex in the overall ecosystem in which we operate. And if we look at some of the challenges, I think there are a couple of very clear themes which comes out from a healthcare challenge standpoint, right? Number one being the cost, which is the foundational challenge, which probably manifests into many other things. But cost, as we know, it's almost $12,000 per capita, considering almost 20% of the GDP of the country is on the US healthcare. Pretend we are talking about big numbers and a big impact it creates into communities, into societies, and to the larger population out there, right? So cost is one element, in my opinion. Second is really the access of healthcare to the vast segment of the populations, right? And again, the access has multiple contributions or the components which creates that access variability across different segments. Cost, of course, is one thing which we have talked about, both at the premiums and out of pockets. It's really makes it certain population less from an accessibility is becoming very difficult from that standpoint. And then there are certain elements like geographic barriers. So the rural locations or the remote locations will always have a bit of an accessibility gap than some of the most developed locations out there. And then there are also certain social elements, right? So depending upon your health literacy and your, the social backgrounds from which you are coming. So accessibility is definitely one of the big challenges, right? So, and the third I feel is really the qualitative side, right? The quality of healthcare. So the cost, accessibility, and quality, the three go in tango, and quality again is a function of the complex healthcare system in which we have operated, right? And if you look at it, the way I try to summarize it is sometimes quality is, it's underuse, overuse, and misuse of healthcare system, right? So all these three elements somewhere contribute to the qualitative impact of it, right? And some of the factors which we have seen, like traditionally the model like FFS and all would have tend to generally create a kind of an overuse in the system, right? So which was impacting the quality. I think that's the triangulation in my mind that these three elements creates a kind of the complexity which we see in the healthcare ecosystem. And then the fact which kind of binds this all together, which is again a big challenge, which I'm sure we'll talk about how we are addressing, is really lack of integration and coordination upon different constituents of this healthcare system, right? So we know we have multiple players out there, whether it's a payer, whether it's a provider, it's a government fraternities, the pharmaceutical side of the thing. So that interconnectivity again is a big challenge. So that's how I look, Rohit, in my opinion, right? That those are some of the foundational challenges of the healthcare in which we operate.
No, that's so true, right? And I think the elements that you spoke about are so critical, right? You know, how do we make sure that we're providing a better quality, right, through better access, a much better experience, right, to the members and the providers, and do that in a way that you're able to reduce the overall cost of healthcare, right? You're right. I mean, you mentioned, how expensive it is. It is fragmented. It is very, very complicated. And that, kind of underscores the importance of driving innovation. It underscores the need for us to be extremely innovative in the way we approach, the four elements of cost, quality, access, and, experience, right? And that's why we created this program or this framework called Innovate, which is really helping us bring together multiple aspects of innovation and create an accelerated framework which we can then use to really drive value back to the enterprise. Innovate is bringing together people, process, technology, and product in a way that, we are lining up to drive better enterprise priorities by keeping the consumer at the center, right? Making sure that all that we do is helping the consumer, the member, the provider to get, all the four things that we spoke about. I think that's so very critical, as we think about innovation and, value back to the enterprise. And I know you and I have spoken about Innovate multiple times, but just wanted to get your thoughts on, your views on Innovate.
No, absolutely. And so first of all, I thank you and congratulate you for bringing something like Innovate as an integral ecosystem of how we operate. And I genuinely believe that it's the programs like Innovate and the framework like Innovate which really differentiates us from any other service options which would exist in the market, right? So, and as you've rightly said, the objectives of programs like Innovate is to really drive deeper value and create enterprise impact. And if we just take a step back, and I keep sharing with all my teams, sometimes you have to be very clear on having this, clarity of who we are and what is the role which we do collectively and individually in our day-to-day lives, right? So we are a true microcosm of the entire organization, right? We have that great vantage point that where we cuts across different lines of businesses with different capabilities. We have a deep SME knowledge which is, be seeded for decades of the work which we have done. So there is a rich knowledge which is lying at our disposal. Our talents are mostly homegrown. They are subject matter experts in the domains in which they have worked in. And a lot of our intercapabilities and the products in which we are operating in many cases are really operating under one location, under one building. So there is also a firepower of co-location, right? That we are co-located literally in a lot of areas. And this is the business side of the things. But if you just extend this thought and bring in the elements of technology, bring in the elements of data science, analytics around it, and create that typical quad model which we know that you bring the product and data and technology and design operations all together. This is the agile way of working, in my opinion, that you have collectively zeroed in on the opportunities, and the way to solve that is not in a piecemeal but in a very holistic fashion where we are looking at things wing to wing from a product first mindset standpoint, and which really elevating the game, not just being a service provider and the transactional provider, but are real value creators by considering what matters most to the constituents for which whom we are servicing, whether it's a member, whether it's a provider, right? And what Innovate did, I think, in my opinion, is it brought a very structured framework to this concept. Otherwise, probably in my opinion, and not just in our organization, but mostly everywhere else, is it happens in bits and pieces and silos. It happens at different varied frequencies and the impact level. And it's very people and leader dependent that how it be infused in that. But frameworks like Innovate brings all of us at the same page. It brings consistency, standardizations into this entire model, which becomes then scalable at the levels at which we operate. And not to forget that the tremendous impact it does to our talent and to the people and the skills which are required for the future. It's a great program for us to get horizontally exposed in different segments of our businesses, acquire the skills which we have not done in the past, right? So I'm so glad that some of the thoughts which you now bringing to the table on Product Academy and the Product Innovation Council, this is forward-looking thought process and mindsets which we need to create. And generally board across, it's creating such positive vibe even in our business leaders and operating leaders, because they are looking up to something, acquiring a skill, getting into a zone which they have not done in the past. So a lot of these programs, in my opinion, go hand in hand. Your sit with tech, sit with ops operations models, that collaboration which we were having with technology and data science and analytics side. And so Innovate is beautifully bringing all this framework all together. And last year was a resounding success. We both were in Gurgaon when we were looking at that I Factor 3.0. Yep. It was so fascinating to see that, almost 250 to 80 plus big ticket ideas which are coming in. 12 of them were top tier, and they had the ability to present in the grand finale in front of the leadership of the organization. So I one thing which really excites me to work and do the best every day is these programs like Innovate, which you are bringing to the table. So absolutely credible job which you are doing on this. So I'm so looking forward to continue the momentum on Innovate and venture into the areas which we have not been in the past. So
fantastic. And Samarth, I always say that innovation is something that is everyone's responsibility, right? So it's leaders like you that, are not just the sponsors, but, live innovation and innovate on a daily basis. And that is what helps us really drive it, to scale. I see Innovate as an accelerator, right? It's something that is helping us make sure that we're able to scale what we do, to different levels. And I think that's the most exciting part. You talked about, being, at the center of everything that we do, the microcosm of UHG. And I think our ability to see the end-to-end, our ability of, getting tech and ops together is extremely important. And our ability to link capabilities and understand these interlinkages is also extremely crucial, right? And I believe that the magic happens at these interlinkages, right? That is where there's maximum opportunity for us to remove the pain, remove the friction, create a better experience, reduce the cost. And the more we focus on that through Innovate, the better it is. And as you think about, transformation, as you think about, what's going to change, what's your take on some of the top 2 or 3 things that will really transform in the future as we think about healthcare?
Right. I think this is again, the area which probably passionately ignites all of us together, right? That's where is this all stuff going forward to, right? Couple of themes, in my opinion, are coming very, very clearly. Is that one, keeping consumer at the center and the heart of everything which we are doing is non-negotiable. That's the thing which we have to do. And healthcare for the longest time has been considered not a very transparent ecosystem to work with. People generally don't have the the information and the accessibility at their fingertips. Like I think in the world where we are becoming more and more retail oriented, consumer oriented, right? So what Amazons and Ubers of the world have done is they redefined the entire landscape at which how we operate, transact, interact with different constituents, right? So somewhere I think that's the theme in the healthcare which is also moving, that how do we bring retail-like experience to a consumer who, for him, healthcare is a need, but it should also come with its own set of options. It should come with its own set of choices which the consumer is entitled to make, right? So that democratization of the healthcare information, accessibility, transparency in the system is the biggest need of the hour, in my opinion, right? And that's where I feel products like what we are doing on Surest is a great example that where we are moving in now in that direction where we are democratizing and bringing a consumer experiences on their fingertips, where very clear upfront clarity on cost, transparencies on the accessibility, right? People can really choose which provider you want to go for, what is the geographic distance of those providers, what is the coverage, what has been the past reviews, and what would be the upfront cost exposures which as a member you will have as part of your out-of-pocket obligations. So I think these are some of the product innovations which are required in healthcare to really bring more transparency and visibility at people's fingertips and take away the dependency on a complex healthcare structure to give you the same information. That's the power of technology in my mind. So that's one theme, which is consumerization or retail-like experience, one thing. The other big ticket item, in my opinion, is I think what we are also very passionately working towards is shift and pivot to a value-based care structure, right? So traditionally, the model has been more volume-oriented, fee-for-service kind of a thing, where you are somewhere directly or indirectly incentivizing the volume over value, right? But that pivot towards value-based care, which is really what is value-based care for everyone's benefit is, right, higher quality at lower cost, right? That's the essence of that model, and where you are incentivizing the final output and the well-being of the members over the volumes kind of a thing. So what has been the final output? Am I able to prevent severe aspects of the medical usage in future, or am I able to prevent hospitalizations? Am I able to prevent emergency usage? Am I able to prevent chronic diseases? Am I able to prevent use of high complexity medications kind of a thing? So everything which is more proactive versus reactive is another theme which will differentiates us from some of the peer groups in the market, and more importantly, it will bring those synergies which we have talked about earlier, that interoperability and connectedness of different players in the healthcare structure, right? So I do feel that there are many other elements which can be prioritized, but if we really keep a razor sharp focus on these two elements, that how do we bring more consumer-centric products which gives more transparency and ecosystem, and then how do we create an ecosystem which actually celebrates more proactiveness in healthcare rather than a reactiveness, and bring the value and the benefit. That's what I think is the name of the game. Combined fraternity of ops technology bringing together, I think will be the need of the hour for not just today, but for the roadmap going forward as well. So that's how Rohit, look at that some of the future proofing of healthcare needs to be, right?
No, absolutely. And I think those two are innovative, but I think have the ability to really transform healthcare, right? Especially as you think about value-based care and the ecosystem that needs to come together to be able to really make sure that you're going back to what we discussed earlier, right? Better quality of care, better access, better experience at a much lower cost, right? So really, really great thoughts. Hey, so thanks a lot. I know we can have this conversation for much longer, but great hearing from you. Great thoughts, great inputs. Love the way you are making sure that you're bringing innovation in everything that you and your teams are focused on. I think that is so powerful for us as a company to be able to make sure that we are creating a better experience for all that whoever we serve, and making sure that UHG's vision comes true on a day-on-day basis. Thanks for being the first guest on the show, and thanks a lot, viewers, for tuning in, for listening to us. Stay tuned as we bring in more leaders like Samarth, talk about their experience, talk about innovation, and how we can create value for the company. So take care, have a safe day, and keep innovating. Thanks a lot.